everyone. So today I would like to explain chapter 3, Designing Classroom Language Test. So let's get started. The first about test types. Language aptitude test is designed to measure capacity or general ability to learn a foreign language and ultimate success in that undertaking. Language aptitude tests are ostensibly designed to apply to the classroom learning of any language. There are tests in the modern language aptitude tests such as number learning. This is examines must learn a set of numbers through oral input and then discriminate different combination of those numbers. And then phonetic strip. This is examiners must learn a set of correspondence between speech sound and phonetic symbols. And then spelling clues. Examiners must read words that are spelled somewhat phonetically and then select from a list that one word whose meaning is closest to the decreased word. And then words in sentences. Examiners are given a keyword in a sentence and are then asked to select a word in a second sentence that perform the same grammatical function as the keyword. And then paired associate. Examiners must quickly learn of a set of vocabulary words from another language and memorize their English meanings. And then proficiency test. If your aim is to test global competence in a language, then you are, in conventional terminology, testing proficiency. A proficiency test is not limited to any one course, curriculum, or a language or single skills in the language. Rather, it tests overall ability. Proficiency tests have traditionally consisted of standardized multiple-choice items on grammar, vocabulary, reading comprehensions, and oral comprehensions. Proficiency tests are almost always summative and norm-referenced. They provide results in the form of a single score, which is a sufficient result for the gatekeeping role they play of accepting or denying someone passage into the next stage of a journey. A typical example of a standardized proficiency test is the test of English as a foreign language, or TOEFL, produced by the Educational Testing Service. The TOEFL consists of section of listening, comprehension structure, reading comprehension, and written expressions. And then placement test. The purpose of placement test is to place students into a particular level or section of a language curriculum or school. It is usually includes a sampling of the material to be covered in the various courses in a curriculum. Most of ESL courses at San Francisco State involve a combination of reading and writing with a heavy emphasis on writing. The first part of the test acts as both of a test of reading comprehensions and a test of writing. The second part requires students to state opinions and to back them up, a task that forms a major component of the writing courses. And placement tests come in many varieties. There are assessing comprehension and production, responding through written and oral performance, open-ended and limited responses, and selections such as multiple choice and gap filling formats depending on the nature of a program and its needs. And then diagnostic test. A diagnostic test is designed to diagnose specified aspect of a language. A test in pronunciation, for example, might diagnose the phonological feature of English that are difficult for a learner and should therefore become part of a curriculum. A writing diagnostic would elicit a writing sample from students that would allow the teacher to identify those rhetorical and linguistic features on which the course needed to focus spatial attention. A typical diagnostic test of oral production was created by Clifford Platter in 1972 to accompany a manual of English pronunciation. After multiple listening, the administrator produced a checklist of errors in several separate categories. There are designed to diagnose specific aspect of language, A writing diagnostic would elicit a writing sample from students that would allow the teacher to identify uh, those rhetorical feature. And a typical diagnostic test appropriation created the company a manual of English pronunciation, and then the checklist of errors, such as stress, rhythm, intonation, vowels, consonants, and many more. And then an achievement test. Achievement test. An achievement test is related directly to classroom lessons, units, or even a total curriculum. Achievement tests should be limited to particular material addressed in a curriculum within a particular time frame and are offered after the course has focused on the objective in question. Achievement tests can also serve the diagnostic role of indicating what a student needs to continue to work on in the future. And then the specification for achievement test. The specifications for an achievement test should be determined by the objectives of the lesson, unit, or course being assessed, the relative importance or weight assigned to each objective, the task employed in classroom lessons during the unit of time, practicality issues such as the time frame for the test and turnaround time, and the extent to which the test structure lends itself to formative pushback, and then assessing clear, unambiguous objective. Let us consider some practical steps in constructing classroom tasks. Assessing clear and ambiguous objective. In addition to knowing the purpose of the test you are creating, you need to know as specifically as possible what issue you want to test. This is selected objectives for a unit in a low, intermediate, integrated skills course. Okay, we have a form focus objective that is listening and speaking, and then we have communication skill, that is speaking, and we have reading skills, simple essay or story, and then also we have writing skills like a simple essay or a story. And then this drawing up task specification. Task specification for classroom use can be a simple and practical outline of your task. The task specifications will simply comprises a broad outline of the task, what skills you will test, and what the item will look like. The next and potentially more complex choices involve the item types and tasks to use in this task. It is surprising that there are a limited number of modes of eliciting responses and of responding on a test of any kind. There are options of elicitations and response modes in test constructions. Okay, you have a broad outline of the test, what skills you will test, and also what the items will look like. Here we have the elicitation mode in terms in oral, that is student listens and the student reads. And then we also have a response mode. We also have the oral and written mode. And then, armed with a number of elicitation and response formats, you have decided to design your text as in the picture. As we have speaking, the format is oral interview, TNS or TNS, and then T asks questions of S objective 3, and then emphasis on 6. And then for the listening, the format is mixed audio tape in advance with one other voice on it. The task is 5 minimal pair items, multiple choice and objective 1, and then 5 interpretation items, multiple choice and objective 2. And then we also have a reading. This is closed test items in a storyline, and then the task is fill in the blanks. And then we have a writing, the prompt for a topic, such as well, I like it, didn't like it, a recent TV sitcom. And then for the task is writing a short opinion paragraph. And then deficit test task. Your oral interview comes first, and so you draft questions to conform to the accepted pattern of oral interviews. First, you begin and wind with non-scored items. Uh, as you can see here, the oral interview format. You are now ready to draft other test items. And let's say you first draft on items choose the following possibilities with each sections. This is the test item. It is the first draft. And then after that, after we're finishing to create a first draft, we need to recheck and revise the draft. And in revising the draft, you can consider to use several questions. For example, are the directions to each section absolutely clear? And is there an example item for each section? And does each item measure a specified objective? And etc. And then designing multiple choice test items. First, we talk about the primer on terminology of designing multiple choice test items. Multiple choice items are all receptive or selective. Response items in that the test taker chooses from a set of responses, commonly called a subtype of response, rather than creating a response. Other receptive item types include true-false questions and matching list. In the discussion here, the guidelines apply primarily to multiple choice item types and not necessarily to other receptive types. Every multiple choice item has a stem which presents a stimulus and several, usually between 3 and 5 options or alternatives to choose from. One of those options, the key, is the correct response, while the others serve as distractors. And then, sorry, let's check it again. And then, since there will be occasion when multiple choice items are appropriate, consider the following four guidelines for designing multiple choice items for both classroom-based and large-scale situations. The first is design each item to measure a specific objective. Consider this item introduced and then revised in the sample test above. You can see here. Uh, the specific objective being tested here is comprehension of WH questions. This structure is designed to ascertain that the students knows the difference between an answer to WH questions and yes or no question. The structures B and D, as well as the key items C, test comprehensions of the meaning of where as opposed to why and when. The objective has been directly addressed. And then number two, we have a state both STEM and options as simply and direct as possible. We are sometimes tempted to make multiple choice items too wordy. A good rule of thumb is to get directly to the point. Here's an example. Okay, you can see the example, and you might argue that the first two sentences of this item give it some authenticity and accomplish a bit of schema setting, but if you simply want students to identify the type of medical professional who deals with eyesight issues, the sentences are superfluous. And moreover, by lengthening the stem, you have introduced potentially confounding lexical items that deteriorate that could distract the students unnecessarily. And then number three, make certain that the intended answer is clearly the only correct one. In the proposed unit test described earlier, the following items appeared in the original draft. You can see the draft right here. A quick consideration of the distractor D reveals that is the possible answer along with the intended key C. Eliminating unintended possible answer is often the most difficult problem of designing multiple choice items with only a minimum of context in each stem. Wide variety of responses may be perceived as correct. And then we also have a number 4. This item indicates to accept, discard, or revise items. The appropriate selection and arrangement of suitable multiple choice items on a test can be accomplished by measuring items against three indices. The first, you have an item facility, the extent to which an item is easy or difficult for the proposed group of test takers. Item discriminations, the extent to which an item differentiated between high and low ability test takers. And then distractors efficiency is one more important measure of a multiple choice items value in a task and one that is related to item discriminations. And then scoring. How do you assign scoring to the various components of this test? Because our production is a driving force in your overall objective, you decide to place more weight on the speaking oral interview section than on the other three sections. 5 minutes is actually a long time to spend in a on one-on-one situation with students, and some significant information can be extracted from such a session. You therefore designed a 14% of the grade to the oral interview, and you consider the listening and reading sections to be equally important, but each of them, especially in this multiple choice format, is of less consequence than the oral interview. So you give each of them a 20% weight. That leaves 20% for the writing section, which seems about right to you given the time and focus on writing in this unit of the course. And then here are your decisions about scoring your test. You can see the picture here. And then about the grading. Uh, how you assign letter grades to this test is a product of the country culture and context of this English classroom, and instructional expectation. Most of them are unwritten, and then explicit and implicit definitions of grade that you have set forth, and then the relationship you have established with this class, and students' expectations that have been endangered in previous tests and quizzes in this class. And then giving feedback. A section on scoring and grading would not be complete without some considerations of the forms in which you will offer feedback to your students. Feedback that you want to become beneficial feedback. You might choose to return the test to the students with one of or a combination of any of the possibilities below. You can see I will mention for only several numbers. The first is a letter grade, a total score for sub-score for the listening and reading section, for the oral interview, on DC, on all the selected parts of the test, peer checking of result, and then a whole class discussion of result of the test, and then individual conferences with each student to review the whole test. Okay, so that's about the chapter 3. Thank you for your attention and see you.